Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, the Arcade1UP cabinet. It's coming back, and we're going to get excited about it. I'm going to talk about the history of the Star Wars arcade cabinet. We'll kind of go through that. Why are they re-releasing it? What is going to be a part of the re-release? Is it going to be an XL? Is it going to be quarter scale? Will it be different? Will it have different artwork? Why now? Why are they doing it now? I think it's perfect timing to get into this. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump right into it. But first, I get some people talking about Sega Star Wars. We'll talk about that soon. And are we expecting the same artwork? Please say yes. We'll have that covered as well. There's some people in the chat saying, Scott Lee says, I want Star Wars cab. Please happen. Would love the Sega Star Wars. So thank you for joining this live podcast that comes every Sunday at 7 Eastern Time. I try to make this content in such a way where if you want to use or listen to this while you're making your weekly commute, hopefully all the visuals I'll try to explain. But if you want to join me live, you can do that as well. Next Sunday, it's 7 p.m. Eastern. There's a lot of reasons to subscribe, and we'll talk about that today. When is it going to come? Lewis Chambers is making his guess. He says the new Arcade1UP Star Wars is going to come by Christmas, and that's going to make a lot of sense. We're going to talk about that. Okay, let's jump right in to it. Let's see, where are we starting first? Okay, if you want to get something Star Wars from Arcade1UP right now, the best bet you have is the Star Wars pinball machine. And I wouldn't recommend necessarily buying it now unless you missed out on it, and you really, really want this version. Eventually, we're going to get a new version of it, so you're probably right at the end of the life cycle. So right now, it's $5.99, and let me clarify that $5.99 is the price that you probably do not want to pay because we have seen it lower. We have seen some prices lower even right now. I believe if you go... I'm looking on the site right now. Okay, I'm misspelling things. Whatever. So the Star Wars pinball is available for $5.99, but we've seen it recently like $4.99, and some of the other pinball machines have been lowered as well, so that'd give you a better price. But we're talking about the full-size Arcade1UP cabinet, the three-quarter scale, I should say. So you go to Walmart, and it's $4.49 at their website, but again, this is not available. This came out in 2019. And so it's been out of stock for a really long time. In fact, the stock is so bad, it's so low, the demand is so high. If you go to the eBay and you put in what is recently sold from Arcade1UP Star Wars, you'll see that recently on September 9th, a Star Wars sold for like $2,000. I guess there was an offer involved. There's a slash through it, so maybe it's not that price. We see some other ones. Here's one that sold 17 bids, $1,750 plus $138 in shipping. Now, that's not always the price. If you scroll through what recently sold on eBay for Star Wars, you'll see some that are local pickups, $600 already fully put together. But then there's other ones. Let me turn down this music here. There's some other ones that are like new in box, all right, that are $1,600. So this is what's making it prime time for Arcade1UP to re-release that Star Wars. And as the thumbnail pointed out, they're actually listening. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit. I've been pushing... if you've been following this podcast for a while, I've been talking about Star Wars this year a lot. I've been talking about, I did a podcast episode on how Arcade1UP needs to come out with the Star Wars. Again, they need to re-release it. I have ones where I talk about Star Wars XL cabinet, which is a larger version of the Star Wars cabinet, how that needs to come out. Maybe they'll call it a Pro. Is that what's coming out now? No. Why do we even believe that Star Wars is going to be re-released? We'll get into it. But after we get to the super chat, it says, super chat by Dan. It says, thank you for the news. You made my day. This is going to happen, guys. This is going to happen. We're going to walk you through it. So let me get back to it. Here we go. We know it's prime for it. Let's go back to 2019. I want you guys that have been following this community for a while, do you remember how hyped we were for E3 2019? It was a big deal when Arcade1UP unveiled that cabinet. It was really, really cool. Now, I'm going to jump to the end really quick because I'm sure there's some people that are joining this video that just want to hear the news, like the proof that Arcade1UP is coming out with a Star Wars cabinet again. and then we'll go and talk about the history in just a second. I got a couple slides. We'll get into it. And so basically this week, now I've been doing a lot of traveling, so I wasn't able to make the content, so I decided to make this episode to talk all about what I missed while I was away. I was on a lot of trips, but Shop Hippo. Shop Hippo is a website that has been selling a lot of Arcade1UP cabinets recently. Now, we have confirmed with executives from Arcade1UP, myself, and a whole bunch of other content creators or influencers of Arcade1UP. We talk to the executives at Arcade1UP to get verification, like, is Shop Hippo like a legit retailer? And they are. They are. The owner is actually a huge fan of Arcade1UP. Now, what I'm showing on the screen right now, for those that are listening, is a 404 page not found. This is the URL that says Star Wars Arcade Machine. But earlier this week, you probably may have seen a video by Michael B., the Game Genie, and he went through and talked about, at the time of his video, it was straight up a picture of an Arcade1UP Star Wars cabinet, but it was the original picture, and I have a couple slides I'll show you on that just a second, and it showed a price of $5.99. So let me jump into that. It's right here. And so these are a set of pictures that I have set aside. This is from the original E3. Let me jump ahead a little bit through these slides. Let me jump ahead, and we'll come back as well. There's like a preview of all the things. This is Louis Chamber dropping the news. He was mentioning it on his Arcade1UP Deals and Discussions. That is a Facebook group on YouTube. If you're not, or Facebook, it's a Facebook group, not on YouTube. But Louis Chambers is here on YouTube in the live chat. Anyway, so Louis Chamber runs this Facebook group, Arcade1UP Deals and Discussion, and this is where I first heard about it. And he said, this is that Shop Hippo link. And notice how the picture is only the Star Wars cabinet, like showing the measurements. Now, there's a good reason why Arcade1UP did that. Now, I think 100%. Let me see if I can jump into the chat. It's John D., which is an executive from Arcade1UP. He's like the senior vice president of licensing and other stuff. He thinks he's a genius at marketing, and he's like, look at what I'm doing. So he probably told his buddies at Shop Hippo to go ahead and get the news out there. Let's see if we can get some engagement, some excitement. And the reason why I totally believe this is an inside job is there was only one picture. There was only one picture on it, and it was the dimensions of the cabinet. Why didn't they use the picture from the original 2019 version? It's because they only have one picture that's real, and that's the measurement, because that's the one thing that's not changing. The look and feel of this cabinet is going to be the same as the original one, re-released, right? It's the same size. And so they don't have updated pictures of the new Star Wars cabinet. So what can we glean from it? It's going to be $5.99. It's going to be the original size. So that means it's $100 more expensive than the original version. But I've been told there's going to be updates to the cabinet. It's going to be, the look and feel of it will still be that Star Wars cabinet. Now, I'll kind of go through that real quick. Now, I'm going to talk about this later, about the Star Wars trilogy. There's some concepts there. If I go back to some of the pictures here, we got all these different cabinets from E3. So this is what the Arcade1UP cabinet on the left, what it originally looked like, and this is on the right-hand side. I'm showing a picture of the original Arcade Star Wars, and it's very close. But one of the things that Arcade1UP has done more recently is they started putting a coin door on their Arcade1UP cabinet. So we can probably expect a coin door on it. In fact, I'm saying that because I've highly suggested it to Arcade1UP that they should put a coin door if they do a re-release. That should be the new part of it. And that information was received positively. I don't know for sure if they're going to do it, but it seemed, I got a comment like, that's a really good idea. Things like that. And I'm wondering if they're actually going to do it. One thing I don't think they're going to do is, if you take a look at the difference between the arcade, this is the original Arcade Star Wars on the left, and the Empire Strikes Back on the right. I don't think Arcade1UP is going to re-release an Empire Strikes Back. right? That is something that has been suggested, but to me, that just doesn't make sense. Because the only real difference between the cabinet, correct me if I'm wrong, but if comparing the pictures, I've never seen an Empire Strikes Back in person, but comparing the pictures online, it's just the marquee and then like a sticker on the side that says Empire Strikes Back. Like if you want an Empire Strikes Back Arcade1UP cabinet, just swap out the marquee and throw a sticker on the side. That's my thoughts. Why would they just, they just come out with the original cabinet, which doesn't say A New Hope, it just says Star Wars. That's the way to do it. Now, will we be getting an XL version? I don't think so, because the Shop Hippo, if I can find the picture, the Shop Hippo showed the outline, and I truly think that Arcade1UP was involved in getting the information out there through Shop Hippo that a new Star Wars arcade machine is coming, so start saving up your money. And the very likelihood, as I don't know if Lewis has some inside information of the release date. I've heard rumors about the release date that they're trying to get this out by Christmas time, by the end of the year. And if that's accurate, that's going to be exciting. And the reason why I think it's exciting is all those people that are out there that missed out on the original Star Wars. Okay, the original Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet. If you missed out on it, this is going to be your opportunity to be able to get it. Now, it's going to be $5.99. And when you compare it to the prices that we're talking about on eBay, this is going to be a good deal, okay? And so there's a couple things that I've been thinking about throughout putting together this content is like, when you look at those eBay prices, I mean, I've used eBay before, and sometimes I'll buy things and they'll gain in value and then I'll resell it, but it's just one item, right? It's another thing, and if you own a Star Wars cabinet, new in box, and you threw it up on eBay and just it went all the way up to $1,600, hey, supply and demand, you kept it around, whatever. But it's another thing if people are like buying a ton of Arcade1UP cabinets. Like, unfortunately, it appears to be that's what some people are doing. We call them scalpers, right? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a cabinet that Shop Hippo, by the way, has, last I checked, Shop Hippo has the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in stock. Well, it's out of stock in a lot of other places, like your Target, your Walmart, your GameStop, Best Buy. It appears to be out of stock. But some people are really upset about that because they say bots or scalpers are buying these in larger volumes, not just for personal use, not just buy one, buy a second one, and maybe I'll make a couple $100 off of selling the other ones. No, there's accusations that there's some people out there that are buying them in the dozens, like we've seen on consoles like PS5 and Xbox Series X. When these were not available, the demand went really high, the prices of these went really high. And this is exactly what I was telling John D a couple months ago. I was messaging him on the side and saying, look at all this evidence of the price going way up, and people are actually buying it. You go on eBay and people are buying it at these high prices. To me, this means it's ripe for a re-release. It's time to re-release the Star Wars, and don't do anything different with it. But what I've heard from them is if they were to re-release it, they probably wouldn't be able to do it perfectly, a perfect re-release, okay? So I'm going to break down exactly what I'm really hoping that they're able to achieve in this re-release. And I was talking to some friends about it. Man, this is going to be really tough for them to actually hit the bullseye on this re-release. I'm actually a little scared about it. Let me explain. Arcade1UP, they continuously come out with new arcade machines, and there always seems to be one thing wrong with it. Even this original Star Wars, under examination, you can find something wrong with it. A lot of people call this a perfect cabinet, but it's not perfectly perfect. Let me talk about it real quick. So I'm going to show you some pictures to demonstrate. Let's take a look at this original cabinet. Now, I keep on saying original, but in my brain I'm thinking like it originally came out, a couple years ago. It's the first one, but it's not like the original. Okay, so on Walmart.com, Star Wars arcade cabinet, if you take a look at the renders show a marquee with just this perfect black marquee at the top and bottom. Now, the marquee, I would give it probably, I don't know, maybe a 7 out of 10. Mine looks really good. It's at the point where I didn't really want to replace it. So for those that you can see behind it, I'm just going to try to rate all of the cabinets that I have physically behind me. Let's see. So this is the Star Wars one. You can't really tell, but that black is a little gray. It's not perfect, but it's not the end of the world. The gameplay on it's great. The yoke feels great. It really feels like you own an original cabinet. Like, sure, the original one is like a lot bigger, and maybe one day Arcade1UP will come out with like an XL, and maybe we'll all upgrade to that. That would be really cool. The Tempest, on the other hand, that I have behind me, you can kind of see that marquee. See if I can step out of the way a little bit so it'll focus behind me. I think I actually literally have to go off the screen for it to do it. Let's see, so I'm going to go off the screen a little bit, see if it'll focus behind here. Anyway, so we have this Tempest behind here. It's a little blurry just because of the focus. And so this cabinet right here, I see if I back up a little bit, you can kind of see my room a little bit more, and they come into focus. So for those that are watching, the Tempest cabinet that I have behind me, the Marquee is an example where it's just not as great as the other ones. Whereas if you take a look at the Street Fighter, this is the best Marquee that I have from any Arcade1UP cabinets that are in my basement. The Marquee, and I have a video on this, you can go check it out, close-up shots of, this is an example of Arcade1UP just doing a Marquee perfect. Now when you start comparing that to the other Arcade1UP cabinets that you've bought previously, you can see that they've gotten better. They really have gotten better on these Marquees. So that's something that they could improve on, right? If the late 2022 Christmas version of the Star Wars cabinet comes out with an upgraded Marquee, that's going to be an upgrade. I'm telling you guys, I don't think this is an upgrade for the people that already own a Star Wars cabinet. If you already own a Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet, this is not an upgrade for you. I mean, I guess if you're just made of money or something, maybe. Like, you want to own a second one, I guess. Maybe. That would be something that you could get. But generally speaking, I believe this re-release is for everyone else that has joined the community. This community, the Facebook communities, have bought an Arcade1UP since 2019, and they missed out on that original one. That is who it is for. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at some of these pictures here, these slides, because I want to kind of back up now that we know, that Arcade1UP is coming out with their cabinets here. I want to get back to this kind of like this couple. It's almost like a slideshow I put together. We'll kind of talk through it, and we'll kind of tell some stories about Star Wars. All right. So here we are, 2019 E3. And I wasn't there, but Arcade1UP unveils to everyone, the world, that they were able to achieve like nearly the impossible, right? Like, no one thought that they would come out with a Star Wars arcade cabinet. The previous generation of Arcade1UPs were not primed, were not very good, to be honest. The monitors weren't great. There was little excitement in the community. Most people were buying these just to mod. It's almost like Arcade1UP was a joke. It was a toy, and some people still believe that, but I think they've really grown since then, and this was a day to remember because it was so cool. No one knew what it was. I think it was a 3-day E3, and there was unveiling cabinets every single day, but this cabinet, the Star Wars cabinet, is one they had draped under a cover, and everyone could see it. Everyone could walk by at E3, but no one knew what it was. And there was rumors of what it would be, and I was there. I mean, I wasn't at E3, but I was in the groups, and I was talking and talking. What is it? What is it going to be? And I'm telling you, when I found out what it was, I was super excited. I was so excited, I made a video about it. I made a video about it to show my excitement, and heck, why not? Let's talk about it right now. Here's a quick clip from a video that I put together at E3 2019. I wasn't there, but I was at home, and I wanted to share the news with everybody. And you can see, boy, I've aged since then. All right, here's the video.
And their final announcement of big major arcade titles was Star Wars. Can you believe it? They actually released Star Wars. So this is the original trilogy of games, first time ever bundled in a single cabinet. and this completely changes the entire design of the arcade cabinet. Nothing about this cabinet looks like other Arcade1UP cabinets. It doesn't have buttons, it doesn't have joysticks. The control deck is not flat. No, it has a yoke so you can actually play these old Atari games in the original way they were meant to be played. I think this cabinet might be one of the best announcements that Arcade1UP has ever announced. Now, me personally, I never played these original Star Wars games, but the fact that they made such a cabinet that's so different can tell us about where they're headed. I was talking to my brother and said, hey, did you hear about the different cabinets that they came out with? And he's not really someone that's very interested in retro games, but when I told him they released the Star Wars cabinet, he flipped out and was like, I'm totally getting it. I was like, well, you know, it's $500, and he's like, oh, I gotta have it. Is it like the original Atari game, like that's all black and you're shooting with lines? I'm like, yeah, it's that one. He's like, oh my god, I remember playing that game. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. And that shows a really good point, because every different cabinet that Arcade1UP releases hits a different target audience, and I think that's why they're doing so great. There's a group of people that are dying for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Boom, you got the cabinet you want. Then people that want that Marvel X-Men franchise games. Boom, you got a cabinet now. People that are really interested in the old Atari games. You got the 12-in-1 cabinet, Asteroid Centipede, and now Star Wars. Fantastic. And that's not all. They're improving the quality of these cabinets as well. Now the screens are going to lean back. There's going to be 2 stereo speakers above, so you'll be able to enjoy stereo sound where available. Also, the control deck will have an acrylic top that's baked right into it. And the sound. A lot of people say the Space Invaders cabinet has 3 settings: off, high, and really, really high. But that's not going to be a problem with these new cabinets, because they say the new ones are going to have a slider. So be able to adjust that sound and get it right in where you want, and I think that's going to be great. What other improvements do you need from the cabinets? Should they use thicker wood? Well, that's going to increase the weight. Should they use a full size? Well, the ship...
Anyway, guys. Anyway, so that was just a quick segment of how excited I was when the original Star Wars cabinet E3 came out. We were super excited about it. We didn't know exactly what it meant, but we were hoping it would mean positive things, right? And so we got pretty excited about it, and that's why I wanted to make this episode, this podcast, kind of reflect on that excitement, bring some joy back into the community, right? Because hit 1 in the chat if you did not. Now, I only want 1s in the chat for those that missed out on the Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet. Like, if you missed out on the Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet, but you wished you would have got it, hit a 1 in the chat. I want to hear from you. You can comment below if you're watching later that you missed out on the original cabinet. Let's see, we got Bill's Retro Show with a 1, CT Jason with a 1, JJ with a 1. That's what I'm talking about, you guys. Get excited. That's right. That what we just saw was pre-Illuminati Justin. That's right. There's a lot of people in the chat that really missed out. People that come weekly on this podcast, and I feel for you guys. I feel for you that you're missing out on this cabinet. But I'm telling you, it's going to be coming out. It's going to be coming out soon, and that will be really exciting. I'm looking forward to the reviews. Now, since I already own one, I'm not going to have another one unless there's some weird scenario where Arcade1UP wants to send me one out so I can do a comparison between the old one to the new one. That would be cool, and maybe I'd give it away after that. I would totally be down for that if they did that, but they probably wouldn't. But anyway, let's kind of go through it. So E3 2019, this was the cabinet. We were all super excited about it. There were announcements of the cocktail tables. Some people are excited about that, but more about this Star Wars cabinet, mainly because people were excited about the yoke. Would the yoke actually feel any good? Now, when the video kind of dropped, there was a handful of people that did reviews on it. I did a review on it, and what we found was it felt pretty good. Now, since then, I have played a Return of the Jedi arcade. When I was in Cincinnati, they had that. And so I played through. I did pretty good on the game, actually. I beat like the first level where you have to go all the way backwards, you know. So I did pretty good, and I don't really know if that was an original yoke, if it was a replacement yoke, but I could tell that it was slightly better than the Arcade1UP version, but it just felt like heavier. I could feel the coldness of the metal in my hand, between my fingers. and it just felt just ever so slightly strong. But the gameplay pretty much felt the same. But all they had was at the Retro World was the Return of the Jedi. I still want to play an original Star Wars cabinet from like the original arcade. I only remember that as a kid, and I think in previous videos I was like, I don't think I've ever played it before. But then I talked to my brother, and he's like, no, we did, and he named exactly the arcade we used to play it in, and I'm like, it's kind of fuzzy. So anyway, here's the side-by-side of Arcade1UP's original on the left. What I'm hoping for is that we'll see an upgraded Marquee. Because if they don't come out with an upgraded Marquee, I just hope it's not downgraded. Is it worth $5.99? Exactly the same cabinet I have? Probably. It's probably worth $5.99. If I take a look at it, I bought it for $4.99. I don't regret buying the cabinet, and I would... Here's the other thing. I would not sell it to you for $5.99. If someone knocked on my door and said, I'll give you $599 for your original Arcade1UP Star Wars from 2019, would I sell it? No, I would keep it. I would not give the money away, because like when other people come over and they play it, it's like the most genuine, unique cabinet. And of course, Star Wars, if you're a big fan of Star Wars, you're going to love this cabinet, because it's just like everything about it says Star Wars. You know what I mean? And then I'm hoping for a coin door. That is actually what I'm hoping for, because those new coin doors are really, really nice. And instead of having the logos on the front, think of it looking more like the picture on the right, where it has, it has a coin door. I think that would actually be an improvement. Now, I've been promised that if Star Wars comes out again, it'll be a BOE monitor. They better keep that promise, because if they put a TN monitor in this, it's going to be horrible. Like the vector graphics, like I mentioned that to Arcade1UP, you cannot make a mistake on this cabinet when it comes to the monitor. It's got to be like that higher contrast, like that BOE, and it's because the whole gameplay of the first two games are all dark. It's all black, right? So if you look behind me, you can barely see the gameplay because, it's all black. Now, that's just my camera or whatever. You're standing in front of it. It looks great, obviously. Let's see. It's so much better with a nicer monitor, right? So, but here's another thing I wanted to mention. This is what a Return of the Jedi cabinet looks like. I found a poster of it, and I think that's kind of cool to kind of show off. And this is the part where I was planning on talking about when I was in Cincinnati. I got to play one, and boy, if I ever come across that cabinet, I might actually buy a full-size real one. And that's the thing. It's another reason why this cabinet is so good. If you ever wanted to buy an original one of these three games, they're going to be big, and they're going to be super expensive. And the first two models is going to be that vector graphic, and they're going to be really hard to maintain. Like, this is the one where even big arcade purists that would never, ever, ever want to admit that they own an Arcade1UP cabinet, because everything's got to be CRT, everything's got to be an original. When it comes to the Arcade1UP Star Wars cabinet, it's like, you gonna take this, or there's only, not everyone can afford or restore or have an upkeep of the original Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet. I mean, it is what it is, right? And so that's what makes it one of my favorite cabinets that I own. We already talked about this, the Star Wars versus the Empire Strikes Back. If you really want an Empire Strikes Back cabinet, this could be a reason. Maybe if you want to collect all three, you want to connect. I know there's some people that bought Space Ace. What am I trying to say? Some people bought multiple Dragon's Layers and then modified the second one to be Space Ace, right? Like, there's some people that want to collect all three, even if Arcade1UP is not going to release them individually. Don't expect Arcade1UP to release an Empire Strikes Back. Maybe they'll do it. I just don't think they will. And if you really want one, $50 Marquee upgrade to swap it out to the Empire Strikes Back. Have my thoughts on that. Now, here's a picture of a cockpit. Do I think Arcade1UP would ever come out with the Star Wars, a Star Wars cockpit? I think that would be amazing. We've talked about it on other channels where we had Arcade1UP employees on the streams, and we asked them. They seem very hesitant to the idea of ever building a cabinet where something would go over your head. I had proposed it, what if it was a tent, right? Literally above you is cloth and little tents, and even that idea got some eye rolls on it, and even I totally get it, but it would be kind of cool to make your own cockpit. The best that Arcade1UP has done in the past is they did a small run of the Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet with like a little bench. And what I understand is the bench isn't coming back. The bench for the Star Wars, I mean, I think this has been in some live streams. Arcade1UP just kind of said that was a test and they ran it for a while. They did the same thing with Outrun. But you look at Ridge Racer, they never did a sit-down Ridge Racer. It's just kind of like, hey, we tried it out. It looks like the stand-up is the winner. It's what most people want. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the gist that I've been gathering from other people. Now, I do want to mention we are 30 minutes into the live stream. Thank you so much for hanging out this far. I do want to mention that if you hit the subscribe button, I will have a link in the description where you can put in your chance to win an Arcade1UP Pro Edition. Next year, Arcade1UP is likely to come out with many pros, one that will look exactly like this Street Fighter, and when that day comes, one of my subscribers is going to win it without paying anything. This is not sponsored by Arcade1UP. This is just me giving back. I make this podcast every week, and YouTube gives me money for all the advertisement. I'm turning that advertisement or the super chats that you make into funding this project because I just want to give back. If you subscribe, and then you just, to enter, you need to fill out this form. I don't get any of your information. I'm just using this service called Glean that wants your email address. And you could, if you have Gmail, put the little plus sign after it and be like Console Kits to track if there was any spam sent to you. To my knowledge, there's no spam you'll get by putting your email address in there. The only email address I get out of this entire thing is the winner's email address, so I can contact them, buy a product on their behalf, and then have it shipped to them. So want to let you guys know about that. If you enjoy the content, that's one way that you can support is through your subscription, and I will give back for that subscription. It should be, people are asking where, it should be in the description of this video. If it's not there right now, it will be after this stream is over. I'm pretty sure it's there because I have it built into all of my videos now. It should automatically come with that. Okay, so coming back to this topic, this was what we talked about earlier in this stream, kind of getting back into it. This is the Shop Hippo link, and this is the more evidence that the fact that the default picture, the only picture that was on shophippo.com for Arcade1UP Star Wars home arcade machine, was a picture that's going to be true for the version that's coming out, and that is the dimensions. Everything else is subject to change. My understanding is they're trying to, tool it the same way, but make it different enough for the people that buy it will know it's like a different model, but it's not big enough of a change that any of us would want to upgrade, right? Because likely they want to reserve any type of major upgrades to this cabinet to the future for like an XL version. The XL version or the Pro version, that's totally coming. There's no reason why Arcade1UP wouldn't do a Star Wars XL version. I mean, this cabinet is known for being massive, so it's like perfect for Arcade1UP to come out with an XL. And there's been previous streams where various people have smirked and smiled anytime the Star Wars XL has come out. There's even been a leak on the internet of Arcade1UP having a full-size remake, a 100% replica of an Arcade1UP Star Wars cabinet in Florida. It's out there. It's leaked. They leaked it on purpose. I have a previous stream on it. We talked all about it. So even that might be coming one day. I think it's really expensive for them to do that, so probably not. So the Star Wars Arcade1UP cabinet is coming back. Here's the Shop Hippo. $5.99 is going to be that price. It's coming back, guys. It's coming back. Let's go to this next slide. Like I talked about earlier, John D thinks he's smart at marketing. He specifically told Shop Hippo, this is my belief, to only use that one picture, but don't use any of the other pictures. Why? To stir up conversation, which it worked. People were communicating about it. And what do you guys think about that $5.99 price in the chat? Do you think it's worth it? Do you wish it was less expensive? Everyone's probably going to say yes, but would you pay $5.99? I'm curious about that. I think it's a decent price. I mean, I wish it was $4.99. I wish Arcade1UP marketing was same price, same cab, same price. You know, before the pandemic, it was $4.99, and assuming we're post-pandemic, a lot of people are assuming that it's still $4.99. We're sorry about the rising costs during the difficult time, but we're back to $4.99. Same cabinet, same price. I think it's a missed opportunity on that price. Joseph says he wishes it was $5.98. $5.98. Well, you're in luck because Shop Hippo it sometimes does it $1 cheaper than other place. T Slayer says, let me take a look at it this way. T Slayer, he's saying the 19-inch screen would make it a yes. $5.99 for 19-inch, that would be really cool. Clack says $5.99 if it comes with the BO monitor, yes. If it comes with the TN, no. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about, Clacks. Papa Brad, he says worth $5.99. It was my favorite cab, and then B, Kongs R Us made it even better with an amazing mod. This is great. If you don't know about it, I'm gonna say this publicly. So if you want to get your mods on, you go to Kongs R Us. And right now, I believe is in hiatus where he's not doing any mods for anybody because it basically took a lot of his time. But if the Star Wars re-release comes by Christmas, he did mention to me, we were together in Chicago and we were talking about this, and I was like, hey, would you like mod cabinets again? He goes, oh, if they re-release it, I might do that. It's an expensive mod, but it's like a rework of the entire thing, and you can play like every game you can think of. It basically puts a real PC in it, and you can even play Sega Star Wars on it, and I think that's what Papa Brad is referring to. You can play a lot of race car games on it. It's like a perfect cabinet to mod, but, the parts to do the mod is costly. But anyway, worth it with the coin door and BOE. Of course, we all wish it was $4.99. Tony says he paid $3.99 for a sit-down Star Wars from GameStop. That's a really good deal. I don't think a lot of people got the $3.99 Star Wars. I think $4.50, and it was locked for most people. Wilson Singleton says it's a day one buy for him for sure. Lewis has got to be $599.98 or no buy. Let's see. Biggie D says, can we confirm another Star Wars Arcade1UP is coming? I think so. It's my opinion that the writing is on the wall. They've been teasing it multiple times. The community wants it. One of the retailers shows it, and then they took it down. All the evidence points to they're trying to pull one more cabinet by the end of the year, and that's going to be Star Wars. In my opinion, it's confirmed. It's confirmed. Right? But nothing's confirmed until it's confirmed. But this is confirmed. But maybe it won't happen. We'll see. I would be highly, highly surprised if this, the fact that the retailer got that, we're already past the point of no return, in my opinion, right? This has happened before. It's all the signs point to it, right? The Real Smile Bit says, think they may have Wi-Fi added in Coindor so that they would add additional costs, but still a deal if those options are excluded. My understanding is no. No. Let's see. What were the thoughts? I was talking to some of the other content creators, and we're going through it. So adding Wi-Fi, it's probably not likely. Even the Tron is a newer cabinet, right? That didn't have Wi-Fi because it didn't really make sense in those games to do it, and it's already costly because of the unique joystick and whatnot. And so, and I've also heard that any new enhancements are likely being reserved for a newer cabinet. I don't know if that's a Sega Star Wars or if it's just like an XL version of the Atari one. I don't really know, but my understanding is we wouldn't expect Wi-Fi because that's new PCB, right? So there's new work on the PCB, but adding a coin door, that seems pretty straightforward, right? It seems like a really minor thing. People joking about RC Willie will be $575. Vic Vicious with $599 with a coin door and a raised bezel. Bezel. Maybe they could do that. I know PCB costs retooling that would be more expensive. A raised bezel would be really sweet. Although if they are having an XL come out later, maybe they would reserve those type of enhancements to an XL version. That would definitely make it worth that additional cost if you make it really tall. Like, man, I have the Golden Tee. The Golden Tee cabinet isn't that great because it is a TN monitor, but it's big. And it being big is really cool. Like, the size of the Golden Tee, it's just, oh man, I can't. This is the thing. Like, I won't be buying this new Star Wars because I already have one, but if they come out with an XL, I would have to get it. I would have to be very selective about the different games that I would get, right? It's not like I'm going to rebuy all of the cabinets, in an XL version, but very selective ones I could definitely see myself doing, and Star Wars is one of them, if and when they do that. They will not do a 19-inch screen, but a vector game needs a BOE for sure, from Papa Brad. That's absolutely right. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. Jumping to the end. Yeah, it would be kind of cool, like a textured bezel, right? If you kind of look at the original cabinet, let's take a look at that for those that are unfamiliar. What we're doing is I'm showing for those that are listening, showing the slides again. You don't have to look at your phone or anything like that, but I'll describe it. So in the description of what I'm describing, on the right-hand side is a picture of the original Star Wars cabinet. And if you look at the yoke, behind the yoke and next to the yoke, all of the black parts, let's see if I can bring my mouse in. There's my mouse. So you can see all these plastic parts, even by the edge of the cabinet, they pop out, right? Texture, they come out. They're physical plastic pieces or molds. Even the, let's see, I'm trying to think. There's all these little parts in the back of it. And then behind the monitor is more leaned back, and then you can kind of see behind the cabinet, or above the monitor, I should say, like more artwork. So maybe if Arcade1UP comes out with an XL, they would have the extra room to be able to do something like that. Lean back the screen, kind of more like a Tron thing. You got some artwork at the top, and then put in those extra molding. And that's what they can. I know they're going to try to get those. We've heard get those XL or Pro, the Pro cabinets to like $1,000. And I think sometimes the retailers, and then they kind of set the price. They're like, our goal is to get a cabinet for $1,000. Here's our margins. And then can we work backwards, right? Can we make a cabinet that has enough in it to make it worth it, right? And I would say, like, a cabinet that big, I mean, they have to go all out. It's going to have to be 19-inch. It's going to have to have all those things. It's going to have a coin door, no riser, the best marquee we've ever seen. And if it has like all those things, I think it'll be worth the price. But should you wait for that? We don't know. I would say that the original Star Wars cabinet is definitely a great collector's item. If you get the bigger one later, it's going to have the same 3 games on it. It's going to have the same 3 games that came in the original 2019. There's no reason to go from the 2019 version to the 22 version. And the only difference probably between the 22 version and 2023, 2024, if there's an XL next year or the year after, maybe they'll add Wi-Fi, but I'm not really sure what value the Wi-Fi would have, right? Like, this isn't really a competitive game. It's not a turn-based game, and you could submit your high scores. Maybe the leaderboard would be the only thing. Like, you want to, maybe they could have some fun with it. Like, how many times have you beat this level without using the Force? Or, I don't know. There's a lot of cool things that I think Arcade1UP could do in the future with their Wi-Fi capabilities, more than just a plain leaderboard. But imagine they actually modify the game in such a way where you can play the game at a very specific spot, and there's like these challenges, right? And there's these achievements, and you get to post to the world that you've unlocked these certain achievements. And every week they're like, okay, we're going to try to have these more achievements. Try your best on this Saturday to get these certain scores. And if somehow the game was set up where they could push an update where it's like, okay, we have all these challenges, and when you go into that challenging mode, it like literally goes into the game set up for that. It'd be really cool. There's a couple companies that do that. I think the Pie Packer has that. I was totally amazed by that with the Pie Packer. Papa Brad says, I think they what does he say? I think they their lumps with the TN monitor. I would be shocked if they used them again. They released, okay, I think he says they threw the TN monitors in the dump, I think is what he's trying to say. I think they took their lumps with the TN monitor. I'm not trying to make fun of you, Papa Brads. It's just the first sentence is like, I can't, maybe rewrite it. Because I would be shocked if they use them again, referring to the TN monitors. They released 80s arcades, and I would have bought if they used the BOE monitor, Joust, Centipede, and Dig Dug. Yeah, they messed up with that series, that's for sure. That series of cabinets that they released with the TN monitors, they didn't have very good bulbs on the side. It was washed out, but hopefully Arcade1UP is completely done with that. There's another topic that I want to talk about. Yeah, man, I get it, Papa Brad. My fat fingers are bad at typing. Totally. Like, I type on my phone. If you're typing on the phone, totally get it. Like, constantly, I just wish I could hit edit on certain things and be like, let me rewrite that. Yeah, no problem. I get it. So, I want to talk about this. So, I think there's still hope. We had a podcast episode earlier, a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the idea of Arcade1UP coming out with a Star Wars trilogy arcade. And y'all were like, no way is it happening. And the reason why people were saying that the Sega Star Wars trilogy arcade would never happen or not happen anytime soon. Let me give you the reasoning here, okay? So Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out, right? And that's a Naomi cabinet. And we believe it's going to have a higher end PCB in it. So that appears to unlock a whole bunch of games that Arcade1UP could do. But it's somewhat misleading, because I was saying that. But y'all were like, nah. See, the Model 2, the Model 3, those Sega arcades are much more complicated to emulate. It's the feedback I got. They're like, no, you can't just take a Naomi and think that the quality is... Arcade1UP has got their emulation down. They're like, Naomi is pretty easy to emulate. That's what I was reading in the comments in the live chat. I took a breath, and I was like, okay, just because Arcade1UP can release a Naomi cabinet does not mean they can then all of a sudden come out with a Star Wars trilogy arcade, which is the Model 3. But, what about Blitz? Blitz doesn't use an emulator. They ported the game over. That changes the rules. It's a completely change of the rules. I got some people in the comments that are arguing me hard that I don't understand how things work. And I'm like, hey, maybe I don't have a full understanding how things work, but let me go through it real quick. It may be true that all the non-commercial emulation out there, the best way to play a lot of these games is with a PC, which is an x86 chip. It's not ARM, it's not Android, none of those things, right? Not a Pi, but a PC. And so people said, there is no way that Arcade1UP is running the Blitz at full speed and all this, because you need a computer to do that. And they said, if you open it up, you're probably going to find a computer inside there. You're going to find an x86 chip. But what we've learned from the company is that the Blitz cabinet is not running an emulator, right? They took the original code that a software developer wrote, probably written in C. This was the late 90s. C is a programming language. And that code was compiled back in the 90s to run on this arcade machine. And today, what happens is people take that ROM, the output of the compiled code, and they run it on an emulator. The emulator is emulating the difference between the computer that you're natively on and the computer, the target emulated computer, right? And usually you need a higher CPU to do that, because you got to do all this extra work, especially when it comes to graphics. But what if you just recompiled the game? What if you just recompiled Blitz on an Android computer? Right? Targeting that computer, targeting the Android operating system. That's what they did with NFL Blitz. And that's how they unlocked that game. But now there's many reasons why I think they did that with Blitz. With Blitz, they got to go in there and do all these modifications to Blitz, right? We got to change logos. It's not just sprites. This is a vector. what am I trying to say? There's polygon graphics that have to be drawn on the screen. It's not necessarily just a sprite swap, right? It would be very helpful to have the original source code for Blitz to be able to make that a modification. Well, they do. They have the source code to all 3 games that are running on this NFL Blitz, and that's why it's called NFL Blitz Legends, because it's basically a different game. It's a port. It's a port. In the sense that they took the original software and recompiled it. So I say to you, there's still a chance. Because what if they have the original source code for those Sega games? Sega games on the Model 2 and the Model 3 that are very difficult to emulate. What if they can acquire the original source code for these games and just recompile it for their target platform? Now you remove all of the emulation friction from the project. And instead, what you have is just you need a really good software developer that can get that code to compile on a different platform. And so if that code was expecting certain hardware on that arcade to be present, they would have to write something different to be able to target the hardware that's on Android. They did it for NFL Blitz. So the proof is out there that they can do this. See, thank you, for a fellow software engineer here. Justin knows what he's talking about. Okay. At least I got someone else supporting me here. Appreciate that. Anyway, so I think there's still hope. Let me know in the chat, what would you rather have? Now, I only want the people to respond that don't have. We'll get a comment out to everyone else that's publicly, but I'm going to ask you to hit a 1 in the chat. 1 in the chat if you do not have any Star Wars Arcade. You own 0 Star Wars Arcade. Would you rather have the Sega version? Would you hit 1 in the chat if you do not own any Star Wars trilogy and you would rather have the Sega trilogy arcade? Hit 1 in the chat if you would rather have it. Hit 0 in the chat if you would rather have the Atari version. Like 0 is the, I don't have anything, but I want the Atari version. 1. So AWOL 101 says trilogy. How to Bachelor, it says trilogy. Scott James, trilogy. Yosef, Ryan, let's see, a lot of people, J to E square is 1. B Cubed says easy, 1. How to Bachelor, Sega. Scott Lee, Sega. Worst Django is Sega. T Slayer, Sega. JJ Slayer, Sega. I can't even talk. We got RetroRGB with a 1. Marty McFly. We got a lot of people with the 1s. Bob with the Justin, I have a question. What is the difference between the original code versus what Code Mystics used for Star Wars? Is Star Wars emulated too? I think Star Wars is emulated. If I understand correctly, Code Mystics has an emulator, just a very good emulator that's based on the original game. I could be wrong because there's a couple of people that are starting bringing in the zeros. So let me look this up real quick. So just earlier today, Star Wars Arcade E3 2019, there were some articles that came out. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's from IGN. Let me pull it up here. They said something interesting. Is it IGN? It might have been an earlier one. Let's see. Was it Shack News? Maybe Shack News. Okay. Yeah, I have it. So let me pull this up real quick. It'll take a second. Let's go here. And let's go over here. So Bob Oife, he makes a really good point. He was out in Chicago, actually. We were hanging out. It was good to see you, Bob, hanging out with your kids. I had a really fun, dude. I'm so glad that you came out, Bob, because when we went to that pinball game, I was able to hang out with your kids. Last time I didn't really get to hang out. We were like, literally, it felt awesome. Like I was going up to Baby Pac-Man and I was talking to your kids and they're like, what is this? They'd never played it before. And I was kind of giving them the history of the game. And then they got excited and they started playing it. Then they started asking me other questions. And I was like, it's kind of fun. Anyway, in this article from Shack News, Arcade1UP unveils the Star Wars arcade cabinet at E3 2019. They said something interesting that I hadn't read before. And it says this: it's plain to see that this new Atari Star Wars cabinet, referring to the one that came out in 2019, has one very unique feature. A Starship-esque cockpit design, complete with an X-Wing pilot control and all manner manner of assorted levels and buttons. Fans will also note that this is, quote, the only at-game... I'm sorry, when I just say AtGames? The only at-home arcade cabinet that uses the original arcade software, according to a press release, making it a rarity even among the company's other hardware. I don't ever remember reading that. I don't ever remember people talking about that. It's my assumption that in 2019, Code Mystics came out, and this is what I remember hearing. They got a cabinet, a real cabinet from... Who'd they get it from? I can't remember the guy's name. Tucky, right? Todd Tucky? So Todd Tucky, I can't remember where he lives. Kentucky? No, he doesn't live in Kentucky. His name is Todd Tucky. Okay, so this dude, Todd Tucky, is famously known for owning all of these arcades. He repairs them. I think I even have one of the machines that he's repaired. One of the cabinets that I've bought is very Todd Tucky. Anyway, so he sent Arcade1UP, or Code Mystics, an original arcade. And they use that as a model. But I heard is they use that as a model for their emulation. And so they're using the ROM and then their emulator running on an Android-based platform. Yeah, TNT Amusement, right? He's in Pennsylvania. Those in the chat are correcting me. Appreciate that. So, I don't remember there being claims that the Star Wars is running like original source code. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe Arcade1UP was not good at that time of making it very clear. You know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of this. There's sometimes I'll ask Arcade1UP a question. I usually don't. It's usually one way. I usually tell them this is what I think they should do. I think they should do this. I think that they should do that. And then I basically don't hear anything back from them. Every now and then they'll be like, this is what we're doing, but keep it under embargo. And then I totally break embargo and do a live stream and tell you all about it. And then they never get mad at me. I don't know why. Anyway, so probably because they're telling things so we'll leak it. That's weird. Weird relationship. But anyway, here's my point. I'm going to ask that question. Point blank, simple. Tell me the details of the Star Wars cabinet. Is it running an emulator? What is the name of it? My understanding, it was a focal emulator. So let's look at this again. So I know I can, if we look up Code Mystics. I love these streams where we do this because it's like, I don't know the answer. Well, let's go talk about it right now. Let's go find the answer. Okay, so Code Mystics, they have a website here. And this is where I remember reading the information. On Code Mystics' website, they have details about their emulator, what systems that they have emulated, and you'll see some list of arcade cabinets here, like NBA Jam, the Golden Axe, and the Outrun. These are all Code Mystics. It says they use the Gemini Rollback. I think the Gemini Rollback must be the name of their rollback netcode app or software, backend, something like that. If Code Mystics is here, it says here, Worst Django is talking about Code Mystics. Code Mystics answered me the other day. They corrected me and said KI was not a part of their emulation on Arcade1UP. Code Mystics is active in the community. They'd probably be willing to answer the question. That's a good point. It's a really good point. Okay, so this is December 2020. Let's go back. We're going to go back. We're going to hit the Star Wars. And here it is. Time to celebrate. It's finally out. So this is the article from Code Mystics referring to their October 15th. This is an article from October 15th, 2019, which is the year that Arcade1UP released the original Star Wars 2019 cabinet. Tastemakers, which is the parent company of Arcade1UP. Arcade1UP is technically a brand. Tastemaker is the actual company. Okay, it says, Tastemakers made our dreams come true here at Code Mystics when they called upon us to bring back the Arcade1UP, the original. Man, I'm messing up. I'm reading poorly. I'm sorry. I got to do better, guys. Got to do better. Okay. Tastemakers made our dreams come true here at Code Mystics when they called upon us to bring the original Atari Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi back to life for their Arcade1UP line. The fully licensed scaled replica cabinet featured an authentic reproduction of the incomparable Star Wars flight yoke, stereo sound, light-up marquee, and a custom riser to make it a perfect addition to your den. Gameplay features 100% emulated accuracy, and Code Mystic's loving attention to detail. Plus, we've introduced many firsts to the Arcade1UP line. Access to the all the original arcade operator adjustments, special glow, and dispersion. Am I saying that right? I don't always pronounce things correctly because I read things but don't hear other people say them. I'm looking for this word. I'm not listening to anyone, so no one's going to correct me on how to say it, right? I can't hear anybody in my head. So this word here, they're talking about filters for that vector game feel, which can be adjusted by you, and optional scan lines reminiscent of the Return of the Jedi arcade machine. Take yourself back to a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, with what is bound to become a collector's item in its own right. There we go. Those in the chat. Code Mystics story time with console kits. That's right. Thank you, Paul. So we're going to click on this emulated, and it takes you to the Focal emulator. And this is what I remember before. They have multiple. They have the Gemini Online multiplayer. This is their technology they use for the netcode. Focal emulation is this emulator that has been emulated. Emulation technology is used to bring back games back to life. Our team members were pioneers in the retro gaming genre in 1994, creating the technology that became the foundation of retro gaming developer. Digital Eclipse. See, Digital Eclipse, they work with Arcade1UP a lot as well. But prior to forming Code Mystics, our coders have been responsible for nearly 100 classic game SKUs. And it goes on and on. 15 years, the Focal emulator and the Prometheus engine. Am I pronouncing that right? And what I remember is if you go through all of the thing that the Focal emulator can do, I think the Focal emulator can run on yeah, TJ's like, oh no, don't read that. I think the Focal emulator is purposed to be multi-platform, right? It'll run on Android devices, Linux, you name it. I think it can run on an iPad as well. They write code once and it can run anywhere. That is their goal. But hey guys, I've hit my hour. Thank you so much for hanging out for this podcast where we talk all about Star Wars. And for a special announcement, don't leave just yet. 19K Fox and I are going to be doing a show together, and I really want you guys to hang out for it. It's going to be starting next Saturday is the plan. Next Saturday, we're going to do a special podcast. We're going to do 10 special podcasts together every Saturday about Andor. Andor is a new Disney Plus show for Star Wars, and we are hyped about it. Now, I want to let you guys know why I'm hyped about this. It's so much more enjoyable to enjoy a show together with a community. Now, I've done that in the past, and it extremely increased my joy for watching a show. So I highly recommend that if you want to join 19K Fox and I every single week, we're going to be doing a first 10-minute spoiler-free episode by episode. We're going to be talking about a breakdown of the Star Wars show Andor that's coming out on Disney Plus. I think it's September 21st, I think is what we're going to do. We're going to go back and forth by each channel. Sometimes it'll be on my channel. It'll be on his channel. We're going to do this. We're going to have some fun. We want you guys to watch it. It's going to be on every Wednesday, but our show is on Saturday to give you plenty of time to be able to watch it. And then on Saturday, we can come live. It's going to be live, 1-hour podcast where we talk about and break down. That first episode is going to be super exciting because it's a 3-episode premiere. And what I've heard is the first 2 episodes of Andor is a little slow, and the third one just picks up. And the information I've heard is the 4th one is going to blow us away. And it's unlike any other Star Wars show that ever came out. And I'm excited about that. Let's watch it together. Come hang out with Console Kids and 19K Fox, where we'll be doing between now and all the way into November. This is a 10-week episode. Hope you guys join it. Tell 19K Fox tonight on the show that you're really excited about doing the Andor podcast. And it needs your help. We don't have a name for our podcast. It's just a special little thing for 10 episodes, and that's it. It's not like we're turning into Star Wars podcasters or Star Wars YouTubers. I want to learn how to do that. I want to get into it in the sense of breaking down an episode, talking about it, give you guys feedback and thoughts of what I think about the episode, and I want to hear from you guys what you think of the episodes. I think it would be really fun. I think it would be a lot of fun. and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.